Hello there YouTubers, and what we're looking at here, something totally different for me. I'm going to try to tackle this wing on this transit van. Got horrible bits of rust coming everywhere. There's a bit on this sill here just where the sliding door is as well, and you can see it's just starting to bubble up there. Very common fault of these vans. I'm going to basically just remove the front wing completely and put a new one on, so you can follow me as well as we get that done then. Right, what I got here is the wings for my Ford Transit van, and this is how they come, just obviously in this sort of black coat. I had them from eBay for about 60 quid, that's for the pair, by the way, so just, you know, but barely 30 quid each really. So I've got a yellow van, so I've got to spray these up, and what we're looking at is the inside edge of the wing at the moment. So I've decided I'm just going to spray those with stone chip paint, and there's probably a lot of people cringing and saying that's not the way to do it, but that's just the, you know, if it does me a couple of years I'll be happy anyway. And I think a few people have said, oh, you should scuff it up a bit, but what I've got is an etching primer, so I'm going to degrease it all, and I'll show you my sort of chemicals and bits and bobs I've got here. So it's quite bright there, can you see it? Yeah, there we go. So that's it's like a panel wipe just to get rid of any grease, and there's my collection of spray cans. I think in the back there, the big red one's the stone chip one. And then I've got the colours and primers and etching primers and the, what do you call it, the lacquer coat, the top coat there, and the clear coat. And down there, oddly enough, I got a hairdryer. I just want to get some heat in the metal a bit, because it's not that warm where I'm doing this at the moment, and it's a unused building at the moment, so I just want to warm the paint. Those have been on the radiator there, just getting a bit of heat in them as well. And unlike myself, I don't usually go through this sort of precaution, but I've even got myself a proper mask there in that box. So I'll crack on with that now, and we'll see how we get. Right, first job I'm going to do, I'm just going to degrease the panels. I got my solution down there, and we'll do the fronts and the backs, and I got my little microfiber cloth on there, so I'm just going to get some solution on there and we'll wipe it down. And I got my little 7-year-old son on here, so apologies for the camera. Well, he's probably better than I am actually. He's probably got a steadier hand than I have. So we're going to have a go at doing that. In fact, looking at it, because they are really dusty at the moment, I think I'll just give that dust over first, just get the worst of it off. I may as well wipe that off, and then I'll do the solution there. So we'll do that first. I won't bother filming that, I'll just get the worst of the dust off there. Right, I thought I'd better just quickly mention the setup I've got here. Basically, I've got a piece of wire, just electrical cord, from one side of the room to the other side of the room, and it's hanging up the panels there. And I've even, well, let's swing around this side, you might see it better. So, I haven't got much space there. So I've just wiped the panels down, like I said, and I'd definitely recommend, if you're buying these, because they probably come in from some wear shop somewhere and just been hanging about, just give them a good wipe over first with a damp cloth, get the worst of the dust off. First job I'm going to do, once I wipe it over with the panel wipe, is use this tin here, and I'm going to spray the back of the panel with this stone chip shield. So I'm going to do all of that. I'm going to give it a couple of coats of that, and I'll tell you what's really annoying is these bloody stickers they stick on with some almighty strength glue that you can't bloody get off, but I should really attempt to get those off. I'll see how I'm feeling, and there's probably some good chemical that would probably get that off. So that's basically it. I'll get on with spraying that, see if my son can do a bit of filming while I'm spraying that. Well, to tell you the truth, I probably won't get him to film, because I'm a bit conscious of all the the nasty gases and things, you know, when you're spraying these cans and all that, so I don't really want him to be breathing those in. So perhaps what I'll do is I'll just tell you what I'm going to do and sort of show you just as I start and finish sort of process. So basically 2 coats of this stuff on the back, and then the next coat will be the etching primer on the front of it then. So we'll have a quick look at that then. Right, I've degreased both sides of the panel, and I've invested in a decent mask as well. That is, if you're doing this indoors, definitely open up all the windows and things, because all I've done is degrease it and the fumes are absolutely horrendous, they are. So like I said, I'm just going to have my boy filming it for 2 seconds just to show you the start, and then they can get out of the room, and I'll finish it off, and then we'll have a look at the finished result. So here goes. Right, here we go. Remember, this is the back of the panel, so we're not going to be fussing immensely, you know. We'll do a decent job, it's never going to be seen, and it's just more rust protection than anything else. So right here we go. Right, I've put on a really generous coat of that stone chip, so I haven't skimped at all, and I don't know where you can see where it's looking a bit sort of a duller shade. That's where it's already started drying. So I've probably gone over it about 3 times, so I've been really generous. And I'm just trying to sort of zoom in. You can sort of see the texture. It's a sort of a dimply sort of effect, but you know, that's quite normal for this type of paint. We're not, you know, it just puts on a sort of good thick rubberized sort of protection there from stone chips and everything the wheel sort of throws up at it. So now I'm just going to put the primer on here, and I've gone for an etching primer. So this is important to get this sort of half right. And I'm not going for, like, well, I've said it before, you know, it's a work van, it's not a Maserati or Ferrari, so I just want something that looks tidy, you know, not a concours sort of finish. And you know, I'm a bit fussy, so it will look sort of, you know, pretty good by the time I finish. You know, it won't be the same sort of quality as a spray gun would, but you know, the other option would cost me about 400 odd pounds. This option's cost me probably, by the time I bought all the materials and everything, about 85 pounds. So that's the sort of difference you're looking at. So I'll press on with that, and the primer I'm using, it's quite handy as well, because you can adjust the nozzle on it. So I've gone for a fairly wide fan, so we'll probably put 2 or 3 coats on there. And I know some sort of body shops will probably scuff this up a bit, but I'm using an etching primer, so if it does what it says on the tin, it should hopefully key into that really nicely for the next few coats then. Rightio, here we go. Right, here we go. I've put on the first, well, I'd call it like a mist coat, you know. I've just gone very lightly on either panel there. And I paid particular attention into getting into all the creases, which I probably didn't mention on the other side. So making sure I get right underneath the wheel arch and these other little creases, and on the top crease there. And I did the same when I was spraying the back there, because they're easily missed, and you can guarantee that's where the corrosion's going to start there, you know, where a bit of moisture can sort of gather up and stay. So I have really sort of made sure I've gone to town where any little sort of creases are. So I'm just going to wait sort of 10-15 minutes between coats. I got the sun blasting on that through the window, so it shouldn't take long, and I'll probably do about 3 or 4 coats of that there, and I'm not sure yet, but I may put on a sort of a build-up primer, you know, just to I'll see how good this looks, and you know, if I'm happy enough with it, then we'll go for the next coat, which is a bright yellow then. So I'll have a little think if I require after putting a few more coats of this etching primer, whether to put on a sort of a build primer, you know, which can be sort of sanded in between coats. But I got to keep reminding myself it's just a work van, so I'm not, you know, I shouldn't be over fussy. So as long as it sort of looks tidy and half decent, you know, that'll be fine, that will. So I'll get the other coats on, we'll have a little look at it there, and then we'll make a decision whether to put on any more coats of primer. Right, and this is what we're looking like after about 3 coats of the build-up, the etching primer. And guys, learn from me, have a bit of patience, because I don't know if the camera can pick it up. Let me see if I can go in there. You might just be able to see it there. A little bit of impatience, trying to build it up a bit too quickly, and I got to run there. And that just means extra work later on, rubbing that down. So just take your time, and you know, sort of, I probably didn't wait quite long enough before the next coat. It hadn't quite dried enough, and I've tried to put another coat on a bit too quickly, and I got a horrible run there. I very much doubt the camera's really picking it up that well, but it just causes you a bit of extra work later on, where you got to mess about rubbing things down and all that nonsense. So just take your time, and lots of light coats, and you'll get there. So I think with just maybe a little bit of light rubbing down, perhaps I'll be able to start going onto the base coat straight away, to be honest. I'm quite happy with that, you know. There's very little in the way of orange peeling, you know, which is very easy to get from spray tins, you know, spray cans. So I think I'll probably give it a light rub down with something like a 600 or 800 grit paper, just to get any sort of little dimpling out, or anywhere where there might be a bit of orange peeling and things like that. And I'll then decide whether to put on like a build primer as well, just to get a really nice finish. And as I usually do, I'm starting to get carried away. But saying that, it's probably worth noting what my credentials are, you know, my qualifications with this sort of thing is, you know, because I do a lot of mechanical work and spraying and all the bits and bobs. The answer to that is none. I've got absolutely zero sort of paperwork, or it's just something, you know, you can have a go at. I'm an amateur, I'm just doing a repair, so you know, it's nothing professional, you know. So if you're a bit practical minded and you fancy having a go, you know, what's the worst that can happen? You know, you've thrown sort of 30 quid away, and you get someone else to come and do it for you properly if you want. But you know, I highly recommend, you know, I don't want to take any work from anyone, but have a go yourself. And you know, it's reasonably straightforward if you got a little bit of common sense, and you know, it's not rocket science, and you can always practice on something else before you do the actual thing you want to do. So that's my little advice. So just letting you know that, you know, we're not going for a concourse high-tech finish, you know, and super gloss and the rest of it. So we'll I'm going to just have a cup of tea, wait for that to dry off, and I'll probably just sand out those that little well, I say little, it's quite a horrible big drip I've got coming down the panel there. So we'll see how we get on. Right, we got the etching primers dried really nice, and I've got to be honest, I'm really pleased with it. It is super smooth, and I managed to rub down that drip we had just, where is it, there. You can sort of see it, but it's smooth with the paint, if that makes sense. It's not actually protruding at all. So I think I'm not going to bother with the build-up primer. I'm just going to go straight on top of that with the base coat now. So that's a a bright yellow, so if there's any nasties I'm sure it'll show up on that as well. So here we go, we're going to go for it now, so wish me luck. Right, I've done 2 or 3 coats and I'm quietly pleased with myself, to be honest. It's coming out really nice. Just building it up nice and slowly. I managed to get another little run, and as with many people do, I always got an excuse. Let me see if I can... I got no idea if the camera's going to pick that up. I don't think it is. But the reason that is I was trying to get the last little drop of paint out of the tin, and it's not worth it because there was a few little splatters and then it suddenly come out quite quickly. And so as soon as you see the cans running out, just get shot of it and start on the next one. Just so to give you an idea, that's taken me two cans there. So I had somebody just try to get a colour match for me, so that they made up the cans for me, and it's reasonably straightforward. So there's a little tip that I've learned: is you know, as soon as the can's running out, just get shot of it, and it's not worth it really. So I'm just waiting for that to sort of tack up a bit, and then I'll give it one more final coat, and then another sort of 15-20 minutes, and then I'll put the lacquer on there as well then. And we'll have a quick look around the back here. You can sort of see the bits of overspray there, which is, I am, like I said, I'm paying special attention to getting right into any other sort of tight creases or joins there. But this coat feels really good actually. It feels quite, you know, it feels like it will do its job. So I really went to town, and it's actually dried a lot smoother than I thought actually. So it's I got a really thick coat of the stone chip on there, so that should be all good to go. So I'll get one more coat on there, and then we'll get the lacquer on there then. Right, I've finished the final base coat there, so it's just the lacquer to go on. And I can't quite make up my mind whether I should just get the lacquer on there or give it a light rub down. A couple little dust particles, like I said, I gotta keep reminding myself it's for a van. I don't know why I'm fussing so much. So I'm in a bit of a dilemma whether just to give it a very light rub down, make sure it's 100% dry of course, and then I'll see if I can get a bit of an angle. Oh, you can't, though. I'm not going to pick it up with this camera, it's just a cheap camera this is. But so I'm going to have a little think about that, and whether just to risk giving it a little light rub down before I put the lacquer on. The other option, I was going to give it a little light rub down after the lacquer's gone on before I give it a final polish then. But I'm very pleased with it. Just one little note I thought's worth mentioning it. I'm not the best for health and safety, you know. I don't sort of, you know, I haven't really got the patience or time for that. But I have bought a decent mask, and I would highly recommend that, because even the mask I've got, I was looking at the filters, it's as if someone's just sprayed paint directly into them. So, you know, I'd be breathing that in otherwise. So, you know, it is definitely worth getting it, you know. So, you know, for the sake of, I think I spent about £30 or something on mine, so, you know, there's no price on health really, so I'd highly recommend, you know, just spend a couple quid on a mask. And I even, you know, I got like latex gloves just for doing the what's it called, the degreasing solution, which is quite potent stuff as well. So just a public health warning, which is a first for me. I'm not usually that way inclined, but perhaps as I'm getting older I'm getting a bit more wary, so there's a little note for you. Right, there we go, the finished article, all sprayed up, and lacquer's on there and everything. So I gotta be honest, I'm super pleased with it. I did decide in the end just to give it a light rub over after I'd put the base coat on. So I used, I think I ended up using like an 800 grit wet and dry, and that's come out super smooth, that has, so I'm really pleased with that. And the real telling moment will be when it's back on the vehicle. So I'll do another video where I take the old wings off and bolt these ones back on. So that's basically it. And if I think of any other the sort of tips I could give is be generous with the paint as well. So I've really sort of gone to town. I've put on about probably sort of 4 or 5 coats of the colour paint, and similar sort of amount with the lacquer there. So if there is any slight run or anything, you've got that confidence to sort of rub it down and smooth it down later as well. So don't skimp with the paint. And this is an excellent idea, I think, if you can hang the plates, whatever you're spraying on something, if they're vertical like that, especially if you're using a spray can or something like that, the paint will flow a lot better, and rather than having it flat on the ground, so if you can knock up some sort of where you've got the panel upright, that's going to make life a lot easier. And yeah, just lots of common sense, keep a minimum dust and look after yourself and you'll be fine. So the next vid I'll do, I'll show them going back onto the vehicle, so that should be fun and games getting the old ones off. So on the old ones, it's right about there somewhere. I got a big rust patch there on both sides, so they're not very clever Ford. Quite well, I'll probably upset quite a few people, but I don't rate them at all with the way they go around. Sort of body protection. Out of all the vehicles I've had, Ford have been the worst, definitely. They just rust away. So, but well, the rest of the van will rust away, but these wings will probably last. Will still be going. But there we go. So we'll have those on there for you, looking ship shape and shiny. And like I said, what I'll probably do is I'll probably wait a good week or so, and then I'll rub these down and then do a final polish on them, because I just like the paint to go off really hard. And some people, it says it dries within sort of 15-20 minutes anyway, but I just like the paint to sort of properly go off proper hard, and we'll give it all a final little, only a light rub and a nice sort of compound polish on there or something like that, and that will finish the job then. Okay.